Serious, has a friend done / said something that just straight up ended the friendship? What happened? At the pub one night with a group of friends. This guy I kind of know was there with his fairly new girlfriend. This black guy comes over and talks to her for a minute, just saying hi, how are you doing kind of thing. Guy says to his GF, how do you know him? GF says, we used to date a few years ago. Guy looks really uncomfortable, pauses for a minute, then blurts out, did you fuck him? GF says, let's talk about this later. Guy says, because if you fucked him we are through. I don't take any N***********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************She asked me to poke around in her husband's life for proof that he was cheating. For months she asked me. I finally gave in. Found proof. In process of gaining proof. Husband started trying to hook up with me. Saved texts and email he had sent. Showed everything to her. She called me a lying bitch and said I faked it all because I wanted to sleep with her husband. Instantly dropped her as a friend. Don't have time for crazy. Many years ago, when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, my sister found out she lost her baby at the same time. To keep my family from worrying about me and to give my sister time to emotionally heal, I decided to wait till the 12-week mark to tell my family. I couldn't keep the news to myself though, so I told 3 of my friends and told them to keep it a secret and why they needed to. The 12-week mark rolls around and my parents say that they already know because one of my friends told them. I confront this friend, she denies it. Another friend who knew called her on her bullshit, so she finally admitted it. She said she thought my parents deserved to know and that I wouldn't even have to keep a pregnancy a secret if I weren't such a slut who got pregnant only months into marriage. Then she went batshit, broke into the home of the friend who called her out and stole a ton of stuff. So she lost 2 friends that day, and from what people tell me, she's been slowly losing the few she has left. She asked for a favor and mates rates when she was getting married for me to do her wedding photography. I agreed and did her a really cheap deal, but I worked full time at the time, so told her it'd be several weeks before I'd be able to get through editing them all. She was impatient, bitched about it on Facebook, and complained when they weren't ready after she came back from her honeymoon. Once I'd given her the photos, I cut her out of my life. Had this one friend in university, we actually became good buddies. I went and spent Easter with his family and things like that. Well, we had a rugby formal dinner, and as you'd imagine there was an open bar and people got messy. There was this girl who went, her date and her split up somewhere along the line, and she got really drunk. This friend of mine latched onto her, and she was too drunk to know where she was. I told him that it wasn't a good idea to try and hook up with her given her state. He said if I don't hit it, someone else will. Something like that. I ended up speaking with another girl who was a friend of mine at the dinner and had her take the girl home with her. I didn't ever speak to that dude again. One of my best friends asked me to buy a shirt for him on my credit card. Okay, he said he would pay me at the end of the month. Between these dates, we went out one day, and, by the end of the night, he said he lost the shirt. He brought it along because he was going to change later. The next day, he would say he lost it in my car, and, since I didn't find it, he wouldn't pay me because he lost in my car. Okay then, fuck you too. A guy I had known for 3 years, all in college, met him as a freshman, and was a fraternity brother of mine, texted me one morning with pictures of a drunk girl that had passed out in his fraternity room on his bed. Selfies of him grinning like an ass and groping her as she lay on his bed, passed out. Completely severed a 3-year friendship to the point where I couldn't even talk to him, and he was only a few doors down the hall from me. I was engaged, and I asked a guy who I had been really good friends with for several years if he would be one of the groomsmen at my wedding. He started laughing out loud and just said, "No, I'm not going to be one of the groomsmen at your wedding." His response shocked me, and it made me feel really embarrassed for having asked. Haven't seen him since that day. One of my friends once insulted my sister, and I gave her a warning. She did it again a little while later, and I got pissed and called her out. The next day at lunch, this was high school, I invited my sister to come sit with us, and my sister sat in the place this girl usually sat. There was no room for her there anymore, and she had to go sit at another table. No one talks shit about my sister. My roommates and I had a bad habit of leaving our door unlocked in our freshman dorm. One day our friend comes over, noticing the door is unlocked, comes inside to hang out assuming someone is there. Upon realizing no one is home, he decides to take my laptop. Now in possession of my laptop, which is registered with the university because all computers that connect to their Wi-Fi have to be. He, without changing or erasing anything, connects to the Wi-Fi and begins using away. He was promptly caught and arrested, and my laptop was returned to me. I have no idea how he is doing now because he got shunned, and I quite frankly don't care. A colleague I knew through university and I became pretty okay friends over the course of our 2 years together in school. One day we were hanging out at lunch and a transgender woman in the beginning of her transition walked by. My friend said, "Ugh, what the fuck? I didn't know we let fucking trans into this school." Little did he know that I myself am transgender, and that woman he insulted was a close friend of mine that had just started coming out to people, with me being one of the first. At that point I decided to end the friendship because I'm not gonna stick around and deal with someone that hates me for who I am. I had this happen with a friend I had known for a couple of years. We met at work, instantly clicked, and ended up being pretty good friends outside of work. He was warm, funny, witty, outgoing, and basically one of those life of the party types of people. Not only did I not know anyone who didn't like him, but most of the people he knew seemed to adore him. So one day, this really sweet mutual friend of ours, who happened to be from Thailand, brings him a gift. It was some special recipe of hers that she had made just for him. He gets all excited, thanks her, hugs her, etc. And she leaves. When she's far enough away that she can't hear him, he laughs and says, like, "I'm going to eat that chink's food." I was stunned. I didn't know what to say, and finally just asked, "Did you really just say that?" He laughed and shrugged his shoulders. I wouldn't let it go and kept questioning him about until he said, "She's nice, but they are all the same. They're dirty too, so I hope you don't eat any of her food." The conversation went a little further than that because I remember him admitting that he hates pretty much any other race or minority group. It was a really disappointing experience and really made me question my judgment because I did not see that coming at all. I guess he's gotten pretty good at hiding it and thought we were close enough that he could finally be openly racist with me. I had a good friend who was just too damn picky about money. He's a great guy, smart, affable, funny, and otherwise generous. But when it came to dollars and cents, he was like Ebenezer Scrooge. If we went out to eat, the bill had to be calculated to within a penny, with a thorough and careful accounting of who ate what, how much was tax, how the tip should be tabulated, and who should pay a larger or smaller percentage because of fiscal considerations A, B, and C. I usually busted up this process by throwing bills on the pile and just covering it so we could all move on to the next portion of our lives. My life is too short to quibble over $0. 18. One day we agreed to go to a rock concert. We wanted seats together, so I casually mentioned we'd order together and pay individually for the seats. Next day, he calls me to tell me he had purchased seats. I owe $XX for the seats plus tax. I also owed him $YY for the costs of the monthly interest on his revolving credit card, which he had used to purchase the tickets. He also wanted me to prepay for 1/2 of gasoline expenses for the 200-mile round trip, including a small mileage fee for vehicular wear and tear. This is where I lost it. I told him I'd pay for the tickets, cash, rounded up to the nearest dollar. I told him to suck up his revolving credit interest, it wasn't my problem. And I would drive us there and pay for all the fuel myself, because I just don't give a fuck. This began a long discussion face to face, replete with calculator. I hand waved all of it, just throwing cash at it because $1, 12 here and $0, 73 there means nothing to me. I don't give a shit. I just want to go see the show. But he returned repeatedly to the budget. It got so complicated I gave up. I threw him $100 and told him to sort out the change when he had the time and inclination. It was an interest-free loan until he figured out the details. He got back to me days later with an itemized invoice and the change. We went to the show with another friend. We wanted drinks, so I went up for them and paid for them myself to avoid the cost/tax/tip argument in the middle of a stadium. After that show, I was pretty much done. I never wanted to haggle over pennies ever again. We stopped hanging out. I moved to another state. To this day, I don't give a flying shit about $0. 72. I throw more than enough cash to cover a restaurant tab and move on to the next problem in life. Penny pinchers drive me insane. Yes. Female friend found out she contracted herpes from her ex. Didn't stop her from fucking new guys left and right. When I asked her, do you tell these guys about your herpes? She goes, they probably have it already. Shook my head and stopped talking to her. Fuck. I had a really good friend. He would help me out with shit through bad times and good. My mother has Alzheimer's, and he was aware of that, and he would usually understand if I had to miss some stuff with him, because I had to take care of my brothers or something along those lines. One day he had something that he really wanted me to come to, some sort of awards shit, by my mother and father were going to Duke to get what was basically a checkup. I told him that I couldn't make his event, and he was upset and pissed. Next day I saw him, and he said he was tired of my bullshit. He said that I needed to stop using my mother as an excuse, and that she was going to die anyway, because they would never find a cure. I punched him in the fucking face. I could understand why he would be upset, but he crossed the line. This will get buried, but it's nice to get out. I'm a strong agnostic with religious folk in my family. An atheist friend of over 20 years told me that religion has no value to anyone. When I told him it helped my mother to face her death, he reiterated his stance. I asked him if his opinion was that important. He informed me his opinions were facts. End of friendship. I had been friends with her for a couple of years. At some point she had expressed interest in having a threesome with my husband and I, and we decided to try it out. It didn't go great, mostly because she wasn't willing to abide by the agreements we all made in advance, so we decided not to try again. After that, I supported her through several breakups, standard scares, and abusive boyfriends, and the friendship seemed fine. She came to visit one weekend, and I was busy the first night she was in town, so she and my husband went out to see a play he had won tickets to. She tried to convince him to sleep with her, got furious when he wouldn't, and then told him that I was having sex with another of our friends. I wasn't. That was pretty much the end of that. Edit, because it's a common question. The rule she couldn't abide by was that she wasn't allowed have sexual contact with my husband while I was gone or asleep. She kept trying to initiate things with him behind my back. She did abide by our other agreements about standard testing, condoms, confidentiality, etc. I had a really good friend since freshman year of high school. We had a D&D campaign together, we had classes and school together, and were both in band and such. We confided in each other for everything, hung out whenever we got the chance. It was all great. My boyfriend and him were like brothers, so we were always just one big happy group that stuck together. Once we were out of high school, we each became a bit busier, but I would always come visit him at college on his weekends off when I could. He eventually enlisted in the Marine Corps. We knew we had to hang out one last time before he left, so we were texting each other to coordinate a plan. It was around midnight, and I asked him, "What's even open right now?" "I'm always open." "Haha, you're barking up the wrong tree, dude, you know that." "Are we hanging out or not?" "My BF's away, right?" "What does that matter?" "Yeah, I don't think it's going to work tonight. Hope to see you again someday." And that was it. I didn't bother going to his going away party, and we haven't spoken during or since he got back. 7 years of friendship built up to a booty call. Yep. Was at a bar with my usual group of buddies I play poker with, not anymore. My childhood friend dropped by, decided to play. Within an hour or so, she developed a crush on one of the guys, decided she wanted to hook up with him. Cue blatant flirting. I shrugged it off, but after the game he pulled me aside to tell me he has zero interest in her. I told him I really don't want to be the mediator between them. We keep chatting. Group reassembles to continue to play. My girlfriend gives me death stares every time I talk to her crush. We usually joke around / try to wind each other up while playing, not just him but all of us. Somehow, me being single came up. Yes, I'll be like the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons. Very funny. Then my girlfriend just goes, well, it's no wonder she's single. She was raped a couple of months ago. Few problems with that. 1. Apart from close family, only about 4 people knew, her included. 2. I was on stress and sleeping pills at the time, due to the severe PTSD. 3. These guys were the first ones, since my rape I felt relatively safe with. Guys who didn't question why I didn't drink, refused all invictions for one of them to walk me home, why I didn't like physical contact, or why I dressed in baggy jeans and men's sweaters. We just hung out and played poker. 4. You never ever say something like this. Ever. That night was the last time I saw her. We became friends when I was 7. This happened when I was 20. Now I'm 26, and I don't give a fuck about her. But I was angry for a long time. The guy started walking around on eggshells when I was there, so I just slowly dropped out of the group. My best friend of 7 years. First week of 7th grade he said to me, you are no longer my friend. You're so lame and boring and nothing cool at your house. Don't talk to me anymore. In the weeks to follow, he vandalized my locker and twice slashed my bike tires at school. He wrote on my locker and on my bike seat, not my friend, after doing this. Fast forward to high school graduation. He sat next to me. He felt extremely awkward and a few bad droppings landed on his graduation cap. He didn't notice, but I did. I didn't say a word and my friend and I kept blurting out loud bird shit jokes to each other. He received his diploma and family took his photo with bird crap all over his cap. My so at the time asked my best friend for naked photos of her. She obliged and then requested some of him in return. I had to pop over to her house to grab some of my stuff, and I found the stacks of photos, both hers and his. She was living with her parents at the time, 18 but in high school. I gave the stack of photos to her dad as I walked out of the house. Never spoke to her again. I understand that her parents went ballistic, and she no longer speaks to my ex. Neither do I, and she hasn't apologized yet.